Welcome to episode 2. This is a continuation of my conversation with 7StarMike. Like all episodes of Riverside Chats, this was recorded live. So let's get back into it. 7StarMike, the man behind the mantis, part 2.
All right, everybody, 7StarMike taking over. I don't know what he's going to say, but he's about to say it. I'll be right back.
I will do a shameless plug for River. He's actually doing a scalp column on, I have a website called Trade Talk Media. If you guys hit tradetalkmedia.com, I'm posting all the trades I put into that small account. I'm posting all the entries, all the exits, the performance of it, etc. He's actually doing a column on there about scalping, which he's done 2 blog posts. They're awesome. So if you guys are interested in scalping, check that out. It's tradetalkmedia.com. I'm not spamming anything. It's actually me. That's my site. I do 7-Star Traders and Trade Talk Media. But he's got a really good column on there if you guys want to learn scalping. And as far as flow trading goes, remember the underlying principle of what we're doing. So it's not just understanding white, yellow, purple. It's not just understanding above ask or below bid. Put the logic back into it, because I see the questions on Q&A Tuesdays and Thursdays all the time. People don't understand what this is about. If someone's buying a contract for 6 months out, you don't watch a 1-minute chart to manage that trade. So just, again, whenever you're struggling with this, put the logic back into it. These are hedge fund traders or just extremely rich people that are exposing $6 million of capital to the market. They're not doing that on a whim. They're not doing that hoping the trade works out. They've done their research on that. There's a reason they're exposing that kind of money to the market. And if you understand that, you understand why I say I don't look at a chart to enter the trade. You understand why I say I don't use stop losses. I'm doing what they're doing. These guys make a living trading options with huge amounts of money. I want to do what they're doing. So if you put the logic behind what we're doing and understand that we're following the hedge fund, it makes trading easier. And to go back to the River saying it was stress-free, the reason it's stress-free is because if this trade is down, I'm in a position that's down 40%. If the big money exposed so much of their capital and they're not closing the position, it's stress-free for me because I know that they still believe in the trade. Even though it's down 40%, they still believe in the trade. So I have nothing to worry about. Now, that doesn't mean in the next 6 minutes they don't close the trade. But as long as they're still in the trade, they believe in the setup with much more capital exposed than I have. So there's just no stress on my part. If it's down, I just don't care. I don't want to lose money on trades, but I just don't care because, again, I'm backed by the hedge fund. They've got their money exposed to it. So I have zero stress because I'm just doing what they're doing. What's up, Riv? Was that you coming back?
Yeah, I've been back for a second. I'm just listening, man. I just love hearing you talk about, you talk about Charlie. I mean, you've definitely become my mentor when it comes to flow trading. And it's just, I don't know if you noticed or not. I bet your class has a lot of people that attend every week. But I mean, I've attended your class multiple times just to, I don't know. You can talk about the same stuff sometimes in the same way, and I still sometimes get something new out of it. So I don't know. I probably speak for virtually everyone when I say I appreciate you doing that class week in and week out. It's just it's gold.
Oh, thank you.
All right. So people are here. If you guys have questions you want me to ask Mike, just type them in the thing. I mean, we're just chatting here. I've got a place that I hope he'll go here in a minute. But if you guys have any questions for 7StarMike, type them in that questions pane up in the upper right, and I'll definitely pass them along. But all right, so before we move too far away from it, I definitely want to say I love the idea how you make the point you don't like people always following people into trades because when you're new, that makes sense. I followed you and Charlie and other people into trades. And my goal was, and I've gotten better at it, to be able to find my own things, right? To be able to watch the flow myself. and be able to not just rely on the phone app. And Swan's watch list is a great example. I mean, that's an amazing. I want to be able to do that for myself. You know what I mean? I'm an independent, sociopathic,
Right.
independent person. So I love that your heart is of a teacher, and you guys, all the full-time moderators, you guys don't have to do this. So it's just really great that you guys do it, and you do it from the point of view of teaching people how to do it, because we can end up dependent on other people, dependent on the government, dependent on employment we don't have passion for. And you guys are teaching skills to change people's lives. So word up for that. That's an amazing.
Well, you know what it is? Like, the whole COVID thing taught us that we're not prepared for any kind of a serious emergency.
That's right.
A lot of my friends, not all of them, but a lot of them, a very good portion of them were in a bad situation when COVID hit. And everyone's like, "Are you worried about it?" And I'm like, not in the slightest bit. Not from like a health or medical standpoint, but from a career standpoint. Like, the stock market doesn't close. And if things take a tank and just, dive, I'm okay with that because I'll trade put. So from a career standpoint, like, COVID didn't impact people that were traders. It just didn't. Swing traders got hurt for a little bit, but if you're, and they provided, or the market provided opportunities to recover from that. We're not dependent on anything. The reason I get this question on Twitter all the time is like, "Oh, if you're so successful, why do you give out information for free?" Or if you're so successful, why do you charge people to join a chat room? The reason I'm successful is because other people, when I started, taught me how to do this for free. Yeah. I mean, I paid for the BlackBox subscription, but once I was a BlackBox member, Charlie, Mario, Teresa, Tech Money, he actually was back today. There were mobs at the time that would give their information to me for free. And I bothered them a little bit. I was asking questions left and right. Yeah. And they didn't say, they didn't brush me aside. They didn't say, "You know what, give me $100 and I'll spend some time with you on the weekend." None of that. It was all for free. So it's my turn now where I can turn around, and I got to a point where I was consistent and profitable, and I can share some things that help me. So it feels good to be able to be one of those people that absorbed information from someone else, and now I can turn around and give it to someone else. Hopefully they can absorb.
That's the way. And I don't want to skip over that. What you just said was profound, because people think trading is gambling. People think it's gambling because, whatever they're talking about, gambling type things. But you just said when COVID hit and the whole world was, shaken, and people, I'm the same way. I had friends who did well, friends who didn't do well. And you just said during that COVID nightmare of uncertainty, traders weren't affected. And that's interesting, because trading is a set of skills that have to be highly developed, and you've got those. And people often will think, well, the traders are gamblers and they're just buying zero DTEs and they're just buying all these GameStop puts and stuff. And like, that's just,
it's gambling if you don't know what you're doing, or if you're looking to become a millionaire overnight. That's gambling.
Right. That's right.
Because you have a $10,000 account and you put $10,000 into GME hoping it's going to be $50,000 tomorrow. Maybe it will, but the odds of that, and even if it did, like, I was posting on Twitter, I forget what GME was. It was like $300, and I was like, "You guys are nuts. Like, be careful with this." And the next day, when it was $450, someone was like, "Ha, don't you feel stupid now?" And like 6 weeks later, when it was back to 100, I was like, "Actually, no, I don't feel stupid. I was warning you guys for a reason." A lot of these people were new to trading and they wanted to become a millionaire overnight. They don't have that skill set developed to the point where they're likely going to keep that money. They'll give that money right back to the market. So there is that skill set that has to be developed. But once you develop that skill set, the market doesn't close.
It's not going out of business.
You can take this skill set, and you have in your back pocket a way to make money. And it depends on your trade style, of course. Like, as a flow trader right now, if you're a swing trader based on flow, it's a little more difficult. But if you're a scalper, you're killing it. Mm-hmm. You have a skill in your back pocket. Hey, you know what? My daughter's going to go to college in a year, so I'm going to start trading now. I'm going to have this skill, and I'm going to do this. I want to buy a car in 6 months. I'm going to start trading now. I have a skill I can do for 6 months. Whatever your statement is, if you develop this skill, And I tell people the stock market's an ATM. You just need the pin. If you
That's-
develop this skill, you have a way to make money where you're not relying on customers. COVID hits, I don't care. I don't have customers that I need them to come to me. COVID
sure.
hits, I don't care. I don't have suppliers that I need to buy stuff from.
Right.
COVID hits, you can't transfer the goods from China to the U.S. I don't care. I don't rely on China transferring goods to the U.S. I don't need customers. I don't need product. I don't need a service. People aren't spending money. They're in save mode. I don't care. That doesn't impact me. So trading is an amazing skill to have. When people are struggling with money and they're a trader and they're trying to learn it, I beg them. I'm like, please put in the effort to really understand how to do this. It will change your life.
Yeah. Right. How long did it take you to get to that point when you were confidently secure in trading as being consistently profitable for you?
I am a slow learner. And if you've heard Kang tell his story, it pisses me off because he said he was trading full time for 8 months before he was consistently profitable.
I have
Took
not
me
heard
3
that.
years.
8 months. So 3 years.
So Kang 8 months starts trading, and in 8 months he's consistently profitable. Took me 3 years. So here's what happened, right? The first year I told you the market was just going straight up. You could buy whatever you wanted and make money. So the first year I made great money. The second year the market conditions changed. So that money that I made the first year was now missing the second year. The market showed me that I didn't know what I was doing. So I was making money because the market conditions were just handing me money. So the second year when those market conditions didn't exist anymore, I couldn't make money. So I had to learn the second year, I don't know what I'm doing. I've got to figure this out. And about the third year mark is when I wasn't losing money anymore. And I wasn't making tons of money, but I wasn't losing money. And then from there, it just went in increments from making a little bit of money to a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Okay, I can consistently pay my bills. Okay, I can consistently pay my bills and have money left over for fun stuff. But it took about 3 years of one good year, one bad year, and the third year is where it kind of clicked for me. And if you look at statistics for the successful traders, the average trader, before they become consistently profitable, you'll hear anywhere from 3 to 5 years. So if you get into this thinking, I'm going to do this for 6 months and be an expert, no, you might not be. It takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get to a point where you can rely on the stock market.
That's right. You just mentioned Kang taking 8 months. And the point is, if anybody missed it, that is extremely fast. And it took you 3 years. So think about that. If you think, that's a long time to not be consistently profitable and secure in what you're doing to get money to pay for your bills to survive. So,
there were a lot of ups and downs in that time period. So going back to the first thing we spoke about, why do you need a year of savings, a year of living expenses in savings? Right. You might have that 3 month period where you can't make a penny. And if you don't have any money set aside and you rely on, I'm going to make $5,000 a month trading and I'm going to pull that $5,000 out for expenses. If you have a month where you can't make that $5,000, now you're pulling $5,000 out of your account that you didn't make. Your account balance is lower, so you're going to struggle to make that same amount. Your stress level goes up, so you're not going to be looking at the charts clearly. So that goes back to, you've got to have that money set aside if you want to be a full-time trader, because you're going to have those periods where you can't make a penny. And you can't freak out and you can't change your trade style. You just got to get through that period and be able to come out on the other side of it. But yeah, when Kang tells that story, I hate him. Like, what an asshole. 8 months? Damn, dude, it took me 3 years. What the hell is this genius coming up? And if you watch him trade, and that guy's pure genius.
He's got it going on.
I'm a huge fan of Kang, man. You can't be mad at that guy for any reason.
I've already had
for him to be able to, for him to do that in 8 months. Now the level he's not at now didn't take 8 months, but to get to the point where he was consistent in 8 months and it took me 3 years, I'm like, man. But I know I'm going on.
Yeah, I've already got requests. People want Kang to come on the podcast, and I hope I've put out the bat signal. I hope that he'll take it up. But so there's
a guy he genuinely knows what he's doing. He's super funny. Like, outside of trading, he's just a funny individual. And he's just got a level head about himself. As much as there's craziness to him, like, I love Kang, man. That dude's just awesome.
Yeah. As this wild adventure and this odyssey of a conversation goes on, we're getting more people joining, and I've got a couple questions here. If you want, there's a couple relating around this topic. How do you know if the hedgies? How do you know if the hedgies are still holding and haven't sold? I think that's a very interesting and great question for someone new to flow trading. So, tell us about that. How do we know that the big money is still in any given flow?
This is probably one of the number one questions we get on flow. It's also the number one question people ask that tells me they never took the flow class. So I do talk about this in the class because it's kind of important. I actually don't talk about it enough in the class. It's at the end, very close to the Q&A session. But there's two ways we're going to know that. If you enter a position and we see it in the flow, that means it's a big enough position that the way you exit is also going to be seen in the flow. So if I watch the flow live, I'm going to see a bunch of bid side activity. Now, when we talk about bid side, this is confusing for some people. When we see ask, bid, ask, those two bid side trades in there are not closing positions. So when I say I'm looking for bid side flow, I'm looking for a bunch of ask side flow turning into bid side flow. And as I see that come across the scanner, that's when I know, okay, they're unwinding their position. Sometimes we'll see a bunch of entries and one big exit. So it's not just, flow. It might be a single line, but we're going to catch that exit in the flow live. The other way, and the only way to know 100% for sure would be to verify the OI the next day. So there's 10,000 contracts in open interest. You see a $5,000 or 5,000 contracts below the bid trade. We look at that and say, oh, they just closed 5,000 of that trade. Tomorrow, if the OI is 5,000, yes, in fact, they did close 5,000 of those contracts. The problem with that is if you're trying to exit when the big money exits, if they exit today, you won't see that in the OI until tomorrow. And if it gaps down tomorrow, you don't have a chance to get out with the big money because you have to wait for the OI the next day. So I'll see it update live in the flow, or if you can't watch the flow live, you can see it in the OI the next day. That's a good question, though, because I get that all the time. It's like, well, you say you stay in it as long as the big money is. How do you know? We're actually going to see their exit live in the flow. It's going to be bid side flow, about the same number of contracts. That's the key. So if you see 10,000 contracts opened up ask side and you see 250 contracts bid side, don't freak out. If you see 10,000 contracts opened up ask side, and then 2,500 bid side, 6,000 bid side, 2,000 bid side, like something like that that would be them closing out the big position.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. This idea of, so there's a follow-up here. There's some people asking, like that first thing, like when you see the big money exit, real time, like people are asking, do you always have like a tab open watching the specific ticker of whatever trade you're in? Like, how do you?
I don't.
Okay. How do you? Gotcha.
So for me, I know my comfort level with tickers, and my comfort level, if I'm scalping, is usually 1 or 2. If I'm swing trading, my comfort level is about 6. Anything more than that, and I end up losing focus and can't manage all of them accurately because there's too many of them for me to follow. So for me, my max swing trade is about 6 positions. So the positions that I have open, I just know I know what they are. And so I'm watching the flow live from bell to bell every day. As a full-time trader, I have the luxury of doing that, where some people that work and trade don't. So I do have an edge up on that. I'm watching literally from bell to bell. I'm just watching that middle portion of the screen. So in the back of my mind, I know right now I'm in Geo, OLE, and HLT. I know that. I don't have to look at a screen. I don't have to write it down. I know those are my 3 open positions in that. I'm sharing the public account, the small account for me. I know in that account, I only have those 3 open positions. So as I'm watching the flow, if I see something for HLT, I got to go, ooh, is that the contract I'm in? And if it is, I'm going to look at that and see what I want to do with my position. And if it's not, I'm going to look at that and say, it's not the same contract, but is it supporting the trade I have, or is it kind of negating what I have? And then I have to, again, look at my position and say, what do I want to do with my position? Because it's my money. But I'm going to use that information to kind of guide me as far as just the thought process. So I don't have separate tabs open, but I know what contracts I'm in. And as they come across the scanner, I'm just going to make a mental note. Okay, yeah, let me dial into this one a little bit more. Let me pull up all the flow and isolate it and see what's going on here. Or, oh, that's the same ticker I'm in. That's cool. That one kind of supports it. And then just, let it flow on. So I don't have specific windows for tickers, but I know off the top of my head which positions I'm in.
Okay, yeah. Do you think generally if you just don't know the details of all your open positions, you probably have too many positions? Because I know people
Probably.
That's the case. Yeah. I definitely
And that's
know.
just the comfort level. You got to learn what's good for you. Because I know people that can have 45 open positions, and they're a machine. They just monitor, boom, 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 and pick them off as they need to. If I had 45 positions, I'd just close the computer, go to bed, and say whatever happens happens. There's no way I'd be able to monitor 45 positions and have any clue what I'm going to do with any one of them at any given time. So for me, I just need 6 or less. If you can do 10 or 20, so don't get fixated on the number, but know what you can effectively manage. And the way you learn that is to have too many positions and feel overwhelmed. And then you go, okay, you know what? I've got 15 positions right now. I feel like I can't monitor this. I'm going to close out a bunch of these. And as I close them out, I'm going to stick to maybe 10 max. And if you have 10 and you're like, oh, I just can't keep track of all this, maybe bump it down until you get to a point where you're like, okay, I can kind of effectively monitor every position I'm in at the same time. So that's just you just got to play around with it and find what your brain can comprehend. For me, it's a low number. I can't, more than 5 or 6 tickers, and I start losing track of everything.
Oh yeah, I personally can't have more than 4 open. Like early on when I was relatively new, I had 12 positions open, which I understand that's not a lot by a lot of people's. But I got to the point where my psychological forces got so just jacked up, I ended up closing out probably half of those positions, sometimes at a small gain. Sometimes I just hit close all. I just had a breakdown or something. I don't know what it was. There was no thesis behind. I mean, it wasn't a huge loss or anything.
And that's what happens, right? You're trying to corral it all.
Yeah, my position sizing it was some pain, but it wasn't anywhere near max pain. But I just closed them out for no reason because I just had to be done with it. And I realized I don't need to do that. That's a bad place to be in. So for me, what you're talking about, the Great River's magic number is 4, and that's just how it is.
I've had more than that, but those are swing trades of like 6 months or 4 months where I know I don't care what it does today. Right? So I've had positions up to 15 positions in the same account. Wow. And, 9 out of those had 6 months of time where whatever it does today, it doesn't matter. It can be down 10% today, 20. It's not going to shake me out because there's 6 months. Those trades, I just don't have to look at them. If it's a trade that I have to monitor like effectively, it's closer to, for me, it's just about 5 to 6. And it depends on how fast those tickers are going to move because I can't do Amazon, Tesla, and 4 other tickers. That I can't do that. Yeah. So it's also dependent on how quickly the tickers move. If I'm in Amazon or Tesla, it's usually that and maybe one other position, but likely when I'm in Amazon or Tesla, it's just that ticker by itself. And then I might have, like I said, I might have those swing trades open that I don't have to worry about. But if I'm day trading, I don't want Amazon or Tesla plus something else that I have to watch out of the corner of my eye. So again, you just have to know your comfort level and what you can handle. And for me, it's less information is better for me.
That's great to hear regarding, with all of your experience and comfort level, you like to focus on Tesla exclusively. There are a lot of people just generally in the market with not a ton of experience playing Tesla all the time and not doing great. So that's a great
Most people shouldn't touch that ticker.
I mean,
I get DMs from people that have been trading for 6 months and they're like, I keep losing every time I touch Tesla. My first piece of advice is, well, then don't touch Tesla. And then we'll change what they're doing and what they're looking at. And 3 months go by. They're like, dude, I'm having the best 3 months. Thank you for helping me out. And then I don't hear from them for a month. And then I get that DM that says, dude, all those gains I had for 3 months, I lost it. And I say, oh, dude, the market's doing pretty good. What'd you do? I played 0, days to expiration on Amazon. And so the behavior we corrected was to not do that because you kept losing money. And say, I know, but I was doing really good. So I went back to it and then I lost all my money again. Well, stop doing that. Amazon and Tesla, Roku, there's certain tickers that are just so volatile, some people shouldn't be touching them.
It seems like, what do you think about Netflix?
I like Netflix, but it scares me.
Yeah.
And if you listen to Kang's story, he learned how to trade. Netflix was one of the ones he learned how to trade on. I like it because it has really good movement. Like you can get a $5 or $6 move on Netflix and bank on options. I had an early experience with Netflix where I was doing really good and then doing not really good. So Netflix, I still like the ticker and I like the movement and I'll still trade it, but there's a little piece. You see the movie Gone in 60 Seconds where he won't touch that one car because of his experience with that one car. Yep. To me, there's a few tickers. Netflix and Roku are those tickers for me. And today I had a good scalp or more of a day trade than a scalp on Roku. Roku will semi-scare me even though I still trade it. So there's tickers that, I have a history of not doing well with them, and Netflix is kind of one of those tickers. But it has such good movement, I'll look at it. It's on my regular screen that I watch all day long anyway.
Yeah, I'm that way with Uber. A few weeks ago, we had all that talk of Uber in the chat, and everybody was hating on it, and we wouldn't even mention it. It was like Voldemort for a minute. And
I won't trade Uber.
So that recent giant Uber, I just saw it and I thought, oh, that's pretty good. And I just didn't do anything. I'm just not going to do it.
So I posted it on social media and specifically said, I don't have a position, but this is good flow. Yeah. And someone said, like, well, if it's good flow, why don't you have a position? And I was like, just the history of me and Uber, I don't like it. And sure enough, today those contracts were up, I think, almost $100 per contract today. So it was good flow. Yeah. And I don't feel bad that I skipped it because it's just my comfort level with that ticker. There's just a bad taste in my mouth for it right now. Maybe I go back to it in 3 months or 6 months or when I see 7 million in flow. I believe in the flow, but the last time those people bought Uber for like $12 million, they lost a lot of money. So again, it could be very high probability flow, high probability, not guaranteed. So even one of those big high probability Uber trades lost a lot of money. So I just have a bad taste about Uber, but the flow was solid.
How much of trading is psychological, do you think?
85 or more %.
Yeah. I can.
I break this down for people. So that video I have on support and resistance is 4.5 hours. If you go through that video, after 4.5 hours, support and resistance. Maybe not as quickly as looking at a live chart, but how hard is it to draw a line on a chart?
It's easy.
Right. So now when you draw that line on the chart, why can't you push the buy button when it bounces off that line?
Because my brain is complex and I'm a weird, crazy animal. Crazy animal.
Trading is not about knowing how to trade. It's about knowing how to make your brain understand that you should push this button here and push that button there. It's easy to draw a line on the chart. It's easy. If you want to be a flow trader, it's easy to learn flow. If you want to be Wyckoff or if you want to be Fibonacci, if you want to be whatever your strategy is, it's easy to learn those. What's impossible to learn is, okay, here's a level on my chart. It bounced off this level. I should buy it. But the last time I did that, I lost money. So now I'm scared to hit the buy button. Trading is all psychological.
Even with all your experience and you shouldn't, do you sometimes, nobody's listening. You can be honest with this, just us. There's a lot of people here, just for FYI. But
I apologize for all those people.
Even with all your experience, do you sometimes chase trades?
No. So I am very good at not chasing trades ever.
Okay.
I am not. My weakness will be I'm a short-term trader, so I won't hold stuff as long as I should. And every now and then I still look at something and say, this is a good entry, but I won't take it.
How long did it take?
I don't have that issue whatsoever. Chasing is one of those things I won't say the term mastered, but I don't have an issue with chasing. If let's say we're using flow and the flow comes in at $3.20 and I look at it and it's $3.60, there's not a second of time wasted on that. I'm automatically on to the next one. I don't even look at, well, maybe if it bounces back or retraces here or, 320 and now it's 360, maybe I just pick up one. Like there's just none of that within me. I've got chasing down where it's not an issue. I've got other issues, but chasing's not for me.
Somebody's asking if you're in that team play. Are you a team trader?
I guess I'm not in team.
I guess they're referring to that recent.
Team came in a while back. I'm not in team currently. The only open positions I have in the smaller accounts are Geo, Oatly, and HLT. And in the bigger accounts, that account is more scalping and day trading than swing.
So how often
my main income right now is from day trading.
Yeah, how often is that account just flat? I mean, at the end of the day, how often are you just 100% cash
Which
at
one?
the end of the day on the big one?
The main account's 100% cash almost all the time.
So you're
I just don't like swinging in that account.
So in the big account,
that's my bread and butter.
Out.
So I pay my bills and live my life on the main account, which I consider scalping and day trading. So
yeah. Okay.
Now sometimes when we see like really good swing flow, what I'll do is put it in the small account and the big account, and I might scalp the big account, keep it open in the small account, or I might buy multiple contracts in the big account and close a significant portion of it, and then leave like 1 or 2 contracts where it can do whatever it wants to do. But so I won't say 100% cash, but close enough to it, where most of the time my main account is at any given point 95% cash or more.
That's good to know. That's it's something else to secure those profits or to secure a small loss and just be closed by the close. That's something that when I scalp things, it takes a lot for me.
Oh, you read through chat, you see people freaking out over futures, or, oh my God, did you see the news? And I'm like, no, because I just don't care. And they're like, why don't you care? It's like, because I have no positions. I'm cash. I'll capitalize on the news or the futures, whatever, at the opening bell. But as of now, after hours, I just don't care because I don't have a lot of exposure.
Yeah, sure. Hey, Leo, who has been here for a while with us, thank you for hanging out. Leo, we're just chilling, having fun. Leo is curious, do you double dip in flow? Do you scalp and then come back?
I personally do not. There's nothing wrong with it because, again, DT gave you 3 opportunities to get $100 per contract within, I think, like a week and a half. Yeah, so you can buy that, get out of it, buy it again, get out of it, buy it again, get out of it, buy it a 4th time, and I think you'd be either even or slightly red now the 4th time, or actually the 5th time, because the 4th time I actually closed my position for minimal green. So there's nothing wrong with finding flow. And DT is a great example because people in the chat room still to this day are day trading DT. So it's a perfectly viable strategy. If the big money is still in from their initial purchase and it goes up $100 per contract and then back to the original purchase price, they're not closing out the trade for even. So you can rest assured that they're still in the trade for a long-term gain. So it makes sense to get back in it again. For me personally, I just don't. Once I'm out of a trade, I just move on to the next trade. And it's just a thing I have. It's not based on experience or superstition. It's just once I'm out of a trade, I just close that trade and look for something else. I don't go back and see what it looks like or is there a spot for reentry. I just kind of remove that ticker from my brain for the time being, unless more flow came in on it a second time. But for the most part, once I'm out of a trade, I'm just looking for the next one already. I don't go back and double dip, although I'm not mad at people that do.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so yeah, I'll say this: the flow trading situation has definitely, it's made me more profitable, and I'm on board. I'm really into it. And let's see here, questions. All right, let me. Oh, sorry. Hey, sorry about that. All right, so I'm curious if you're up to it. You know, we're kind of getting toward the end here in our amazing journey, which, I could keep going. I mean, I've got no plans, so just let me know. Let me know when you got to roll. I mean, but
I'm a chatterbox.
Maybe we can get a 3-parter out of this. Who knows? I'll say this. The holidays are coming up, and it's a weird time, and we got this new year coming up. And if you want to go there, I'm just curious. There's no more trading questions coming in on the chat. What are you hopeful for next year? Are you hopeful? What's your worldview right now? I mean, I'd like to go down that road for a second. What's the 7StarMike worldview philosophy? And what do you think? What's coming up? You feel good?
I am hopeful. I've got no set plans for 2022, but I've got a general idea of where I want to be, and it's even a lot higher than where I am now. And I'm without even getting into January. I'm already confident that I'm going to get there. Just super positive about what's coming up. Now, we can't see the future. That could all be derailed tomorrow. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I feel like, and not just me in general, a lot of people are getting so beaten down with, what's going on in the world right now, that at some point we're just going to snap. And we're just going to be like, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm going on an upward path from here. I'm tired of, not being where I want to be. Because there's a lot of people that are so down and out right now. And 2021 was supposed to be let's put 2020 in the past. Let's move on to 2021. And I feel like 2021, a lot of people are like, oh my God, we need to fast forward these whole 2 years. So I think, and it's just part of my general personality, I'm always striving to be better than where I am today, tomorrow. So I can't look at 2022 and say, you know what, it's really not going to be that good, or I don't think it's going to be any better. I am super hopeful for just an explosive growth in 2022. Now, as far as like world economics and world health, stuff like that, I have no idea.
Yeah.
As far as just my personal outlook, I just feel like, and I haven't been negatively impacted by COVID. Like I said, we live in an industry that just wasn't impacted.
Yeah.
I mean, short term, of course, things are going on, but we have a job. I'm talking about the full-time traders. We have a job where that didn't disrupt our world.
Right.
But I still just feel like there's some big growth coming for 2022. I've got some big plans in my head, some big ideas. So if I ever got to the point where I was like complacent or not positive about the future, I think I'd be done. Because for me, there's just always something bigger and better to reach towards. So I'm excited for 2022.
So it sounds like part of your just trading, it sounds like your trading philosophy is entwined, if not inseparable, just from your personal philosophy, as you just expressed. It sounds like you are looking
It
forward.
should be.
Okay. What about that? Some people like to keep trading separate from their personal life, and they like to try to keep a divide there. They want to be a killer, or they want to be a predator on the stock market, and they try to divide that. And you don't do that at all. That's interesting. Maybe you can't divide.
It seems tough to me because you have to be able to flip a switch. Some people can and some can't. And think about this. Have you ever had a bad trading day and then you snap at someone in your personal life and you're like, oh, you know what, dude, I'm sorry. I had a really bad day today. I didn't mean to snap or yell at you or anything. Trading is kind of, it's high intensity. Yeah. Even though the flow trading, I say, is stress-free, like the scalping and the charting and stuff like that. And if I have a bad day, it's a bad day. Like you don't feel good when you lose money. Yeah. Luckily, I'm at a point where it doesn't happen to the point where it disrupts my life anymore. If I have a bad day in the market now, it's just a bad day because I know the next 6, 7, or 8 or whatever, they're going to make up for it. So I'm at a point where it doesn't affect me as much now. But there was a point where if I had a bad day, people would look at the stock market, and if it was deeply red, like they don't know I trade puts or anything. If the market was red, they would know, like maybe let's not invite Mike out tonight because the market took a dive. He's probably not in a good mood today.
Like you're one of those huge sports fans, like you're one of those, LSU fans who can't, talk when their team loses a game or something. Like you're one of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, we're so entwined with it, right? So if everything you're doing in the market is just negative, 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 what do you think your personality is going to be like? It's probably negative, negative, negative. And you see it in the chat room, right? You see people say, I screwed up again. The market makers got me. What do you think their personal life is like when all they do? And I'm not saying like you have a bad day or something. I'm talking the people, and you can find some names that everything they post every single time is just negative, negative, negative. Yeah. What do you think their personal life is like? Are they a joy to be around at the party? Probably not.
Yeah, I don't think they're laid back, just chill people. I don't think that.
Yeah, so for me, trading and my life, it's kind of intertwined until it got to a point where trading became automatic. Like I have very strict rules on how I trade now that I can separate the market from my personal life, but my personality is going to drive what my trade style is, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, sure.
So the two, they are intertwined where I'm hopeful and positive about what I'm seeing in the market and how I'm going to navigate it. I'm hopeful and positive about how I'm going to navigate 2022 with things within trading and without. It's like your general personality has to feed into your trading in order to be super successful. I think and I'm no genius. That's just my opinion on it. And again, if you have a short-term mentality, how many times in the chat room do you see someone take a 4-month position and they're watching a 1-minute chart the day they entered it?
Oh yeah.
Why does that happen? Because there's a disconnect between their personality and their trade style. Their personality is short-term immediate gains, and their trade style, they took a trade that isn't short-term immediate gains, and there's a conflict. So they're trying to watch the 1-minute chart, trying to manage it because their personality says you got to get immediate gains on it, but the trade they took isn't for immediate gains, so they're not sure on how, oh my God, it dropped 10%, should we get out? No, you shouldn't even be looking at it. But their personality is in conflict with their trade style or their trade personality. So I feel like to be effective at both life and trading or general, like you have to align your personality with what you're doing. You just have to.
Do you think trading attracts certain types of personalities in your experience?
I do, but then I'm confused on whether I'm right.
Okay.
I think there's a certain personality trait where you know it's something risky, but you're willing to do it anyway. There's a certain group of people I hang out with that are traders that we'll take risks, and we do like to gamble. And I'm not talking about the stock market. I'm talking about the gamble mentality. And we'll place bets on anything. And there's something about the action of it that attracts certain types of personalities, right? Like, why do we like the stock market? Because I can go in and click a mouse button and in 10 minutes have $1,000 of profit. That's exciting. The action of it is what draws some people in. Right. So the fast-paced lifestyle, the gambling, the market, the skydiving, the race car driving, like all these adrenaline-inducing things. Like, I think there is a personality to it. And then that's why I get confused. Like day traders kind of have this reputation of being carefree and risk takers. And if I say the word fuck in chat, someone's like, oh, you got to watch your language. And I'm like, really? Like day traders are worried about the word fuck? So then it reminds me that there are people that don't have that balls to the wall, anything goes personality, but they're still in the market.
That's right.
So I think there's a certain personality that's drawn to it, but I don't know if I'm 100% right on that one. It's just a general feeling I have. And then I'll meet someone that completely shatters my thought of like what a day trader is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been in it much less time than you have, but I'm the same thing. I mean, I've seen some of the same things. I've got a skydiving history. I used to be a pretty active skydiver, and I used to race motocross. Just dirt bikes, 125s and 250s, and I used to just got this. I love fast motorcycles and fast cars, and I try not to do it, right? Because I mean, I've got people to depend on me now, so I don't really do these things anymore. But I still have dreams of the good young days, And
there's
you're right.
Something about that feeling and that lifestyle and the adrenaline and the fast pace and the excitement of it all that I think that's part, like a successful day trader, and not all day traders have to be like this, but part of the successful day traders are the ones that are drawn to that energy. And you have to be, right? You can't be scared of the stock market if you're a day trader. If you're an investor or a swing trader, there's a little bit of that is fine. But if you're going to be in a trade for 3 minutes or 6 minutes and you're going with big positions for a scalp, you can't be scared of the market. I feel like that feeds into, like, if you're going to take a dirt bike, 35 miles an hour off a dirt jump that's 60 feet in the air, that feeds into the type of personality that's just not scared of shit.
I mean, the first time I went skydiving, like by myself, they do the training and you do it tandem and then you go through all this training. And then when you jump out of the plane and like you realize, okay, there's an instructor over here, right, floating 10, 12 feet over this way. But like once you pull the ripcord, once you're under canopy, there's no one can help you. There's no one that can help you land that except you. And there's nothing but you that can help you. And I loved it. I'm just a control freak, and it just I loved it, and it kind of translates a little bit to trading. Well, I should say to day trading, because you're right. Scalping is for bigger positions, and put it on. And sometimes I'm out with a small profit, per contract. Sometimes 45 seconds later, but I have to control that part of me to not take more risk than I should. To obey stops and those types of things. So I definitely see this type of energy as well in you. And is that part of the reason why you've publicly said several times now that the swing account just bores you? It's just too slow.
It's just not moving quick enough.
Yeah.
Like it's cool that account is what I consider to be the safest trade. If you have $10,000 to your name, you can't do with $10,000 what I'm going to do with a different account. You can't.
Right.
If you have $10,000 and you have $500,000 in the bank, you can play with that $10,000 and learn things and do different things. If you only have $10,000, you have to manage it differently. So that account that I started with the 10 grand was for those types of people.
Right.
So the trades that are in that, I feel like they're the safest trades as possible. Like I'm comfortable if someone only has $10,000, I'm comfortable saying this was a trade you could have put in that account. And I'm not worried about you blowing up your account or losing money. And then I have a few haters on that account publicly that it's kind of funny, and they're just waiting for me to blow up and die with that account. And they say, well, if your scalp account is so good, why don't you just scalp in the smaller account? That account isn't for scalp. It's designed to show people what you can do with very safe swing trades if you have a small account. I want to put half of that account balance into Tesla and double the account in 6 minutes, of course. But that account is not for that purpose. So it bores me just in the sense that the balance doesn't move quickly. So the day trader and the scalper in me looks at that account and says, fuck, dude, with 10 grand, I should have another 10 grand like every 3 or 4 days with this. Put it in Tesla, put it in Amazon, put it in Roku. But that account, I'm doing it publicly for people who only have $10,000. And I don't want to say like only 10,000. Like 10,000 is a lot of money.
That's correct.
If you only have $10,000, you have to manage it differently.
That's correct. And I think that's most people. Most people probably are, learning to trade with less than 10K. So I mean, that's great. You're doing that from, people shouldn't hate on that account. Well, you shouldn't hate on anything because just leave people alone, right? Do your own thing. But
if you don't like the way I trade, don't trade that way.
Right. People shouldn't hate on it because you're doing that from a teaching standpoint. You're teaching people how to do these things with highly profitable probability trades. So the haters
back
are weird.
to what you were talking about earlier, though, right? Like unrealistic expectations with money. Yeah. If I post a $5,000 gain and you have a $10,000 account, you should not look at that $5,000 gain and go, "Oh, I should do that. I wonder what he did to do that." Well, I didn't do that with $10,000. So that account, and again, I can do other things with that account, but I'm choosing not to. I want just the very safe trade. I don't want a $4,000 contract in that account because it's a $10,000 balance. For me personally, I might be comfortable putting the right $4,000 contract in there, but there's no way I would look at someone else that says, I have a $10,000 account, how would you manage it? There's no way I would look at that person and say, well, there's a $4,000 contract, but it's a safe contract, you should put one in there. There's no way I would do that. So if it was my account, my money, no one was watching, I might do that because I'm comfortable with the flow or something like that. But I wouldn't recommend other people to do that if that was their only account. So I'm not choosing to do that. So you have to manage those a little bit differently. So the account is going to grow slower. And I don't mean to say like, oh, I'm not making money, it's boring. It's boring in the sense that I have another account where I can make the entire amount that the swing account made in 6 weeks, I can make in the other account in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's boring in the sense that the account balance is just so slowly grinding up, like just move. But I'm not going to do the things in that account that I wouldn't recommend someone else with a $10,000 account to do. And I've got a bunch of messages from people that say, hey, I've got an account balance about the same size as you. I want to learn how to manage it that way. Like you said, I post the results on there. There's 20 out of 23 trades were green. And the 3 that are red are still open, so there's a chance they can go green later. So that's a safe account. Regardless of what the balance is doing, those are very safe trades that I'm taking. There's people messaging me that says, hey, I have an account balance similar to you. I want to learn how to do that. So that's what I like about that account, is that it's keeping me accountable in that I'm not going to go trade Amazon or Tesla in that account. Yes, I can probably add $1,000 to that balance in a matter of minutes. I'm not going to do it in that account. I want people to be able to look at that account and realistically say, okay, I've got an account that's similar to that. He grew at this amount. he's following trades that are very high probability, and look at the results. They are working out. It's a slow build, but that's why I say that account bores me, is because I compare it to another account where I'm just active in it all day and the balance just grows and I can take money out of it. This account I can't really do that with. So I try to not belittle someone else that's going through a small account growth. But for me personally, sometimes I look at it and go, oh God, I just want to take that money out, put it somewhere else and make like proper gains with it.
Yeah, sure. And if someone is following that account and they're doing it from the point of view of learning how to trade, and they see you, if you did put a Tesla trade in there, they might do it and then have a much worse experience. So that's a great thing you're doing, man. You're kind of going against some of maybe your preferences, just again for the sake of learning. That's what all of the full-time moderators, you guys are just, oh, you don't have to do this. And I think it's great that you guys are doing it. BlackBoxStocks seems to me, tell me, I don't know, does the algorithms change? Like it seems like you had mentioned a few times that you guys were at a certain level of profitability and then you tweaked things and got more profitable. Is that like algorithmic changing, or is that, I'm just curious if that's any kind, that may be proprietary, maybe you can't say, but.
So the algos are changed a little bit here and there based on, so Charlie's the one who kind of is the thought process behind them. And then he has to get out of his head into the developer's head for them to actually set like the thing. But Charlie's really good mathematically and looking at stuff and saying, okay, this is kind of the combination. So he tweaks what the algos are looking for from time to time to give us the best data available, because BlackBox has every single trade on the stock market, but we can't put every single trade on the scanner or it would be moving so quick. Think of how many people trade 5 contracts of Apple. The scanner would be moving so quick you wouldn't be able to see anything. So the algo has to search for certain data, and he's got that dialed in just unbelievably well. So I actually have access to the other scanners on the market, and when I compare them side by side, their algos just don't pick up the right data. So when I say we're tweaking it, we're tweaking that a little bit. Not we, I don't have any part of that. That's Charlie. So he does tweak the algo itself a little bit, but what I'm talking about more is we're studying the flow that comes through and the trades that work versus the trades that don't. And we're tweaking it as far as this is really the combination of things I'm looking for me to enter a trade. And then we'll look at that data and say, okay, so we took these trades here. They had the look we were looking for, but they didn't work out. Is there anything in common with those that had the look but didn't work that we can adjust the criteria that's going to be, this is my trade entry point? So we tweak it that way, not necessarily the algo itself, but how we're looking at the data to say, this trade looked good and we got everyone into it, but it didn't work out. What do these trades have in common where we can eliminate that and go from 70% profitability to 80 and 80 to 85 or 85 to 90? Like, how can we constantly look at this data and make it better so we can get as close to 100% as possible, even though we know we're never going to have a perfect system. But if we can get it just a little bit better each time we look at it and tweak something, like that's the goal. So when I say tweaking, I mean looking at the data and how we actually use it. Although Charlie does do little things here and there to change the algos to find the data that's even going to show up on the scanner for us to look at. There's a lot going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. So just understand that these guys are constantly improving this system for us, and it's insane how much work they do with it.
Yeah, I have no doubt. I'm definitely interested in that back end part of it. It's just I'm always kind of curious. So here we are seeing these things in real time. As people make the purchases, right? As they make the buys, we're seeing them immediately, and it just makes me, it pretty much amazes me the amount of.
Can you imagine 20 years ago when you had to pick up your phone, call the broker, and place your order and get charged $80 per trade to place that order?
That's about.
And now I can watch this live in my living room. Like, this is insane. If you stop and think about it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And I made the comment the other day to someone. The computer that's on my desk was a $1,000 computer that I bought off the shelf at Best Buy.
Nice.
There's nothing special about it. It's just any old random computer that you can go to Best Buy, pick it up in a retail store in your neighborhood, put it on your desk, and that one little piece of equipment and the black box software and the amount of data that you have access to and the things you can do with that is insane.
It's unbelievable. We're in some ways we're kind of the most we're definitely the most babied generation of traders there's ever been. Like you
Oh,
mentioned,
for sure.
You mentioned 20 years ago. We're the same age, and 2002. I mean that's the modern era. You know what I mean? We're not talking about 1935.
No, it's
It's like
insane.
the stock market we have now didn't exist not too long ago. It's amazing the amount of information we have. The retail trader explosion of recent years. It's mind blowing, and people are doing great things with it. I think Black Box Stocks. I'm so happy to be associated and even work here because it's one of the more legit things. You mentioned the other flow trading services. I've never had any experience with them because Black Box was the first one I tried, and I was just sold. So I don't know anything about those other places with pretty well-known names. But I have heard many people say what you just said, that there's just the right info's not there. You can't tell various things, and it's a mathematical and programming wonderland, I imagine, under the hood.
That's a huge side of it. And then one of them actually goes on record. It says, we're not going to tell our members how to use the system because it's up to everyone for self-discovery. And the problem with that
so they just get algorithmic alerts?
Sign you up for Black Box and then say, have at it. You have no idea. I get questions from people that are members. Like the flow class that I do, I ask a poll question in the beginning, how long have you been with Black Box? And a lot of people say, about a month. So you can have access to the system for a month and still have no idea what the ask and the bid means. And if that's the case, like I can give you this data, and just in the chat room, people will post chat or post flow and say, hey, what do you think of this flow? And I go, oh my God, that's horrendous. What are you even looking at that for? So if I just give you the data and say, have at it, good luck, it's dangerous. Like you're going to get into trouble with that.
I haven't seen your little graphic. I haven't seen your little graphic in a few days, by the way. Your
which one?
Your shit flow graphic. I haven't seen it.
You know what? I've almost retired those just because I'm trying to be a nicer person these days. Although when I post those, I don't mean it in a negative, mean way. I kind of mean it to make people laugh and go, oh, I should remember that, it's funny that, I should remember that because the little graphic made me laugh or something. I don't mean it in a mean way. The only time, and I come across as mean sometimes because I'm very short and direct and to the point. And I'm passionate about trading. So if I'm talking to someone, I don't mean to be yelling at someone, but sometimes I know it comes off that way. The only time I'm intentionally mean to someone is that person that jumped into chat and said something about Jenny negatively. You will not ever say anything negative about Jenny or any of the moderators in front of me without getting my bad side. So if I come across as mean to anyone, I don't mean it to be that way. I know I'm just, I don't use a lot of words if I don't need to. I'm short, direct, to the point, and I do have an edge to me sometimes where it comes across as mean. I promise you I don't try to be mean to anyone unless you attack one of our members or moderators or something like that. Otherwise, if I've been mean to someone, it wasn't, in my opinion, meant to be that way. It just comes across that way because of the way I talk. I know I'm not everyone's cup of tea. Believe me, I know that.
Well, I mean, I like the tough love, and it's definitely I think any regular one of our cohorts of our mini cohort of characters who hang out in the main chat on a regular day, I think everyone is fully appreciative of it. I remember one time you sent me to my room. I can't remember what it was, but I did something, and you were like, "That's stupid," or you didn't say stupid, but you gave me some good feedback a couple months ago, and it was forcefully delivered. And I'm not, I'm strong. I can take it, and I appreciate it.
Well, here's the thing. Look at it this way, right? Let's say you're repeatedly doing something that is costing you money.
Yeah.
And there's people that are going to look at that and say, "Oh, it's okay. Everything's going to be okay. Let's just kind of figure out where you're going wrong. Everything's going to be okay." Well, guess what? Everything's not going to be okay. You're going to lose every penny you put into the market.
Yep.
Not to say everything can't be okay. So, and not to say there's something wrong with someone that's going to have that approach to say, well, everything's going to be okay. Let's look at this. Let's do that. That's an effective way to talk for some people, of course. Mm-hmm. It's just not for me because I don't look at it and say, I don't want to know everything's going to be okay. I want to know how to fix this because it might not be okay. So don't give me the soft approach and say, you know what, you made a mistake. That's fine. Let's learn from it. Let's do this. No, tell me what the fuck I did wrong.
Yeah.
And then I want to examine it myself and figure out what I did wrong. And then I want to go and look at every little detail as far as how I can fix it. I don't want to know that everything's okay because it might not be. Don't tell me everything's going to be okay. Be strict with me. Be, to the point. What do I need to do to fix this? And then I'm not really looking for people to tell me that. I'm looking to do it on my own. But that's my personality and my mentality. So when I talk to other people, it comes across delivering the message the way I want it to be delivered to me, which isn't necessarily the way they need it delivered. So that's where I get some kind of the negative reputation side where I'm, either strict or mean or hardcore or whatever. I don't intend it to be that way. I just want it to be realistic. If you do something dumb, you did something dumb. And if you keep doing something dumb, you're going to keep losing money. It's not going to be okay in the end. You've got to stop doing dumb shit. So I just come across as sometimes maybe a little strict or / whatever word you want to use.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, back in the old skydiving world, the instructors would be like, you have to keep your shit together under stress because, if you make mistakes, you're going to die. And they're like, you're young.
Yeah.
And you're gonna die young. And that's not the case with trading, but there's real money on the line.
But you'll lose every penny you have.
There's real money. There is real money on the line, man. And we're in a capitalistic system where it sure seems like nobody really cares about your financial situation except yourself. So you're trying to teach people these things. And I don't know. Maybe it's because we're old.
You know what it is? It actually legitimately bothers me when people lose money. It's not my money. It's not my account. It's not my day is ruined. Nothing. It bothers me personally, even though it's not my money or my account. Because I'm seeing you do something that I did and that I've learned over the years is just something you just don't do. But I can't tell you don't do it and then you just don't do it. You're going to have to go off and do it again and go, oh, that's why he said don't do it. So I understand it from the point of view of it does affect me when someone gets in the chat room and says, oh, I blew up an account, I have to cancel my account, I wish you guys well. That hurts the moderators. Like, we genuinely care that, not that they're canceling the account, but that they actually lost the money and we know what they're going through because we've all blown up accounts. So we know what it feels like to be in that position. So I'm just passionate about this and I want people to. And again, you can't learn something because I tell you. Sometimes you have to go out and make the mistake yourself. But I'm passionate about correcting things that I see that you just shouldn't do. And then there's things that I don't agree with, but it's not necessarily something you shouldn't do. It's something I shouldn't do. So I try to approach that differently and say, well, here's my opinion on it, and this is why I don't do that. But people trade differently, so we can do things differently. So I try to be, when I'm considered the asshole, is more like when you do something that generally speaking, not based on trade style, just generally speaking, you just shouldn't do that type stuff. And you keep losing money when you do it. And that's when you see the frustration of me come out. Because you can send me DMs and I can help you. And then if you keep sending me the DM saying you're doing the same stuff and keep losing money, at some point I'm like, well, I mean, there's a lot of people that want to ask me questions. Why am I spending time on you when you're not changing anything and you keep complaining, but you keep doing the same thing? So that's when that side of me comes out. So people have said I'm good at teaching at some points, and then other people have said there's a clear frustration level when people don't get it. So I know there's two sides to me there where I want to help everyone, but I know the way I come across isn't the best way for everyone. But then, like you said in the chat room, someone can say something negative about me, and then 5 people could jump on them and say, oh, no, Mike's the best, leave him alone. So I have my supporters and I have my haters. It's just my personality is like that. I'm dividing, I guess. But I am who I am. I don't mean to hurt anyone. I just try to help out when I can, and some people are going to like me, some people aren't.
Authenticity is what it's about. I think that's the success in whatever you're trying to do. I think it's authenticity is what we need to all strive for. We're all unique. We all have our things. We just need to be ourselves. And that's what you're doing. And that's why it's working. Have you ever mentored or worked with someone and just counseled them to quit trading? Like, have you ever maybe somebody,
well, maybe not directly where I said you need to stop because you there's a few people, and it's very rare. I know three offhand over the course of like 5 or 6 years I've been, in the BlackBox Moderator role. There's three that I know of over the course of that many years where I've said, you know what, you're just not getting it. What you should really, realistically think about doing is erase all the information you have in your mind right now and just start over from square one. And just don't trade right now. Just paper trade or don't trade, but start from square one.
Yeah.
So I've got people that message me for like 6 months in a row. And after 6 months, they're like, okay, so I just don't understand this. If the underlying is going to go down, I want to get a put, right? But then, and I'm like, if you've been training for 6 months and you're asking me those types of questions, like you really just need to stop and reset. You're so confused on what options do. Stop and reset before you keep putting money into the market. That's only happened, like I said, I know 3 times for sure, maybe 1 or 2 others over the course of 5 or 6 years. So it's not something I'm going to do often because, again, I feel like as much as you struggle, if you really put in the effort and get this down, it literally changes your life. Like, I don't have a boss. I don't have a restriction on how many vacation days I can take. I don't have a restriction on where I can live. I can get a laptop with an internet connection and do what I do from the beach. Right? There's things that if you're a trader and you perfect the craft, there are things you can do that working 9 to 5 you just can't do. So I would never really want to tell someone, listen, dude, you just suck. You're not going to get this. Stop trading. It's not really my approach to it. Sometimes I will say you're just so confused you need to reset. But I really don't want to be the person that says, stop doing this. I want to be the guy that says, you're struggling, and I know it, and I know what that feels like, but please put in a little extra effort, really dial in, like dig deep, get this stuff down. Once you get it down, it's going to change. It's going to change your personality just because if you're losing money every time you put money into the stock market, how do you go through the rest of your day? You're probably like a sad or depressed person because you feel like everything you touch just goes to shit. That's going to wear you down psychologically. So I really want people to get trading. And it doesn't have to be flow, whether it's technical analysis, flow, fundamentals, investing, scalping, whatever it is. I don't want to be the guy to tell someone, you know what, stop trading, you're not going to get this. From time to time I will, but it's rare.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people would like to hear that because there is sometimes a mentality or at least a belief with beginning traders that to trade options, you have to be mathematically gifted, you have to be good at math, you have to, so you're saying this is a very learnable skill for the average person who is committed to learn.
It is. I can't count past 10 if I don't have 2 hands in front of me to look at fingers. So it's a learnable skill. The things I would say, if you're struggling that you have to work on is immediately either paper trade, which I actually don't like paper trading, or just buy a single contract. I know people that have let's say $100,000 account, and they're like, oh, I'm buying $5,000 or $6,000 positions, and I can't seem to make money. I'm scared my account is going to drain. Buy one contract. I don't care if it's a $250 contract. If you have a $100,000 account, it's not the money you're looking for. What you're looking for is to really understand, why do I get in here and why do I exit here? And maybe if you have 100,000 and you're trading $250, it doesn't equate in your mind. So maybe bump it up to 500 or 1,000, whatever the number is. But don't be taking $5,000 positions if you're not figuring out what's going on. So dial it down. Just trade a single contract and really learn, why do you buy this contract and why do you get in here and get out there? Once you have that skill, you can transfer that to different position sizes and make money. So it really comes down to, you've got to learn the skill. And if you put these unrealistic expectations, which we've spoken about a few times now, if you put those aside and you really just dig in and say, okay, I want this data, I need to learn how to do this, you really can learn how to do it. I'm not a very smart person. I'm just not. I don't think I'm an idiot, but I'm not the brightest person out there. And I learned 2 very specific skill sets. One is technical analysis and one is flow. And I feel like the average person can learn both of those things.
Yeah, your charts are beautiful, by the way. I love those 1 hour charts that you'll put out all the time with the they're great. They're simple, they're zen, they're powerful. So yeah, I can
My
see that.
brain has very limited power to it, so I need those simple charts.
Well,
It's not because I'm trying to reinvent trading and simplify it. It's because I don't understand it if it's more complex than 2 lines.
yeah, I see
Nothing
a lot
against people. Like, so someone said this the other day. They're like, oh, so when you say that, you're making fun of Pete. No, here's the thing.
yeah.
He
knows
is
what's
the
up.
most genius trader out there. I will say
What's
that
his
on
deal?
record a million times over. He
Yeah.
knows every single line on his chart, why it's there, and how it's going to react to that.
Right.
Most people, and I won't say most, but I know people that post things on Twitter, and they post, 6 charts, and the charts look really busy. And they do that because they're trying to look smart, and they're trying to look like they have this technique and this skill. And then you ask them a question, they can't tell you the first thing about it. So I don't have a problem if you have multiple lines on your chart, if you know how they interact and how to use them and why you put them there. For me personally, too much on the chart just distracts my brain to the point where I'm like, I don't even want to look at this. It hurts my eye. So I'm not, again, trying to reinvent anything. It's just that's how my brain functions. With the less data that I have to do what I need to do is how I want to go about it.
Yeah, sure. You learn what works for you, and you dive into that. And again, you stay authentic to whatever works for you. Yeah, Pete and other people who have lots of indicators. I think I could probably pull up a bunch of indicators and try to put them on a chart. And I think if I posted it, someone like Pete or yourself who knows those indicators would probably look at that and just know it's bogus. Because all that stuff just represents data. And if you don't know what it represents, there's no reason to, attempt to pose in such a manner.
Why do people post like a million different things and say, I have a super secret technique? Well, it's because you rely on them. And if you rely on them, you're going to pay them whatever they want to show you their super secret technique. So sometimes people, and I mean, you can talk to a lot of people that trade options, and they can talk about it in such a confusing way that being a full-time options trader, I listen to them and go, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, stop. Right. You're trying to sound smart, but I can explain that same thing in 4 simple words that the common person can understand. You don't have to use those terms and be so technical. So sometimes people try to be like, they try to present themselves as something that is either something they're not, or I want to look like I'm super smart and I know what I'm doing, so I'm going to present this complicated idea so you have to come to me so I can explain it to you. I just don't do that. I can't function like that. So if I see 2 lines on a chart and I see it's bumping its head against this level all the time and it finally breaks through that level, that's all the information I need. That's just my brain focuses and functions on simplicity.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. A lot of those heavily jargonized, discussions come right before an invite to join their paid Discord. There's no doubt about that.
Right.
Those are immediately morphing into how you can join there. Anyway, listen, I do not want to keep you forever, so I've got one more question, but let me just say, if anybody makes it either live tonight, there's people here, or when it's released on YouTube, if anybody makes it this far, I think we should give them like a 5% discount on a monthly monthly something or whatever. That's above my pay.
If anyone's made it this far, I owe you a personal heartfelt apology for listening to me ramble for hours at this point. So,
well, this is,
I kind of forget people are listening to it, and it was you and me on the phone having a conversation. I kind of forgot the fact that we're actually recording this for other people to listen to.
I told you that. I said, I hope to spin a web of conversation that is so laid back and welcoming that these guests spill their beans. So that's my goal, to get you guys, because here, seriously, I know you said that. I do not agree. People want to know about you guys, about you, about the moderators. People want to know. I think they would listen to part 2 of this if we were to do it. So just for people who are listening, thanks, getting some good comments here. I appreciate it. Glad you guys are liking the show. And this is what you're going to get. So let me know. Spread the word, good people. Riverside Chats is created for Black Box members. And I've got 7 people so far. You know all their names. That's all I'm saying right now. Already committed to do episodes. after this one. So I'm going to be talking with your mods, hopefully at length, about all sorts of things. But no, Mike, that is entirely the truth. I think people are really interested in you guys, not just your setups, not just what you're doing or how many contracts you buy, but they want to know, right? You just said you're one of the many things I took from this was you have to align your trading with your personality, and then we got to know a little bit of that even more. So you're wrong. People definitely want to know more. Yes, they agree. So here's my last question.
I appreciate the insights there. And listen, when you get through the other moderators, if you're ever bored and want to waste 2 hours of time, call me back and we'll do it again.
Okay, there we go. So you got that. He will do it again. And also, as you spread the word, guys, let me know who would you like to hear on the podcast. I'm really bad at social media. I'm trying to get better, but we'll
be
in
touch. By the way, this is a cool little endeavor. I'm looking forward to hearing the other moderators, because people ask that question to me too. They're like, "So do you pay attention to the other moderators' trades and stuff?"
Yeah,
I don't take the trades that the other moderators put out necessarily, because I have my system of trading and stuff. But I watch these guys. I interact with them on a daily basis. We have a text message thread that we can talk to all the mods after hours and stuff. So
cool.
I'm super interested in all the other guys and the way they trade. And, Maria's an unbelievable trader. Jenny is amazing with these small price contracts. So the moderators, most of us haven't met each other in person. But I consider these people like some of my closest acquaintances, especially in the trading world. Like, I rely on these people on a day-to-day basis. This is our team. And the strength of each one of us makes the whole team stronger. So I guarantee you, whatever you put on this podcast, I'm going to listen to every single one of them, just because, I'm interested in the other moderators, just as anyone might have said, "Hey, I wonder what Mike has to say." Well, I'm the same way. So it makes sense to me now that someone might want to listen to it. But I'm looking forward to what you do with this podcast. So congrats on the idea. I love that you took it and ran with it. And definitely looking forward to seeing what you can do with this in the future.
Oh, I appreciate that. Many thanks. There's definitely, I'll probably announce the next guest in a few days, but he's a big deal in our world. So we'll get to that. But thanks for the comments, guys. I'm glad you guys love the podcast. But this is a great example. I mean, we're just going to talk about stuff, and it's a great honor to be able to have you guys on, Mike, to have you on, to be able to sit here and just learn from you guys. But here's my last question. I worked on this one. This is my last question for you.
This is the Oprah moment.
Usually I'm just, kind of got my outline, and I'm just kind of quick enough on my feet to improv stuff based on what you give me. But I thought about this one. So here's the deal. All right, everybody, we're wrapping up, but this is what I want to know from 7StarMike. Think back to pre-7StarMike, right? Which, by the way, I didn't even ask you. I got to know. Tell me about the Mantis. Tell me about the handle. What's the 7-star about? That's not the question.
So I told you.
I got to know that.
I told you I was a Kung Fu instructor. The style of Kung Fu that I taught was 7-star praying mantis.
Oh my gosh.
So that's where the 7-star comes from. Perfect. That's where the praying mantis face comes from.
Oh,
and when I started posting stuff online, I wanted to do something not under necessarily my personal name, but something that I could basically have like a small group of friends that like, this is our thing, and like just have a group created. And it turns out I never did any of that. It's just me personally. But
right.
7-star comes from 7-star praying mantis, and the praying mantis face is self-explanatory. That is all basically in tribute to my Kung Fu days.
Nice. And did martial arts and Kung Fu bring you some discipline you needed that you use on a daily basis in the stock market by any chance?
When I look back now, yes. When I first started trading, I lost every sense of discipline whatsoever.
Well, yeah, that 3-week
I'm a very disciplined person in some aspects of my life. But when I started trading, I would not cut losing trades forever. Like, oh, no, it's coming back. I was one of those people.
Oh,
so
I did that, yeah.
I'm very disciplined in some aspects and very reckless in others. But when it comes to trading now, I'm very disciplined now that I look back on and say, there's actually a lot of similarities between what I learned from my Kung Fu days and what I learned in my trading days. It wouldn't be apparent at first, but if I stop and step back and think about it, there's a lot of things you learn in both aspects that just meet in the middle, and it's kind of fun and surprising to look at both sides of it and say, you know what? I can't believe that a lesson learned in that aspect actually carries over to this one.
Sure.
So the whole 7-star thing and the Mantis have absolutely nothing to do with trading whatsoever.
Well, it kind of works for trading when you think of the kind of killer mindset. I saw a video of a praying mantis on YouTube holding a living butterfly, and it's like looking at it, and the way it killed it, it slowly like tore off one of its wings and started
that's
eating
nothing.
the wing. So I thought maybe
if you
that's
YouTube
like
praying mantis eating things, they'll eat birds, they'll eat snakes, they'll eat they're vicious cute little beasts.
Oh man. So yeah, I thought maybe that's the thing, the man behind the mantis. This is like this notion of he's this mentality you need to take good scalps, and actually no, it comes from Kung Fu. Do you still practice Kung Fu?
I don't have a school or group that I train with out here, but I do try and every now and then get back to what I used to do, and just I can't do what I used to do, but still try to stay, young at heart and limber and loose and flexible and work on speed and stuff. And it's good just to bring me back to a good place. Anytime I feel like overwhelmed or stressed or anything, it's one of those things where it brings me back to a place of just calm. It sounds weird because when you're practicing Kung Fu and stuff, you're imaginary, fighting people and ripping limbs off, but somehow that makes me calm.
Well, that's not surprising. And I'm a big fitness fanatic. I mean, it's like, I'm 46 and things are different now, but like, I'm still in pretty good shape. And I just think as we get older, like you have to have that physical fitness. You have to do something, in my opinion, to keep yourself at least close to where you probably should be. All right. So here's the quick question. It's a pretty simple one, but I am curious about this. If you could go back in time, back before 7-Star Mike, back before full-time trading, back before that, and you're just starting part-time trading, you're just getting into trading, what would you time travel and tell yourself back then? One piece of advice, if you could just boil it down to one thing, what would you tell younger you about to start trading?
That's a tough one, only in the sense that there's a billion things I would try to tell myself.
No, you got to choose
one of them would be tough.
But
if I had to stick to something concrete that any general trader listening could be like, okay, let me work on that, it would be know your trade style and develop your rules around that, and you have to stick to them. Now, the hard part is I don't know what type of trader I am, so I've got to do this and do that and watch this person and watch that person and figure out what makes sense to me. But you really want to dial into the type of trader that you are. Take the trades that stick to that trade style, because you're going to mismanage something if it doesn't match your trade personality and your personal life, right? So you're going to mismanage that. So learn the type of trader you are. Develop a set of rules that are based on that. I'm going to enter because of this criteria. I'm going to exit because of this criteria. And then it's just a matter of developing the discipline to stick to it. So the number one thing is you've got to know what kind of trader you are, and you've got to have rules that support that type of trading.
Find out who you are and then follow the rules.
Yeah, it goes back to I'm in a swing trade for 4 months and I'm watching a 1-minute chart. Well, those are conflicting, right? So you're going to mismanage that trade. So if you're watching a 1-minute chart, maybe you shouldn't be in a trade that's 4 months out. It's messing with your psyche, right? You're watching a 1-minute chart because you want it to do something, but it might not do something for 3 months, 4 months. So align your trade style with your personality. And once you have your set of rules, and again, that's trial and error. I find out what's good and what's bad by doing good and bad and then saying, okay, I don't want to do this. I like doing that. This works. This person does this. I'm going to use that. This person does that. I don't like that. So it's a long process of figuring this all out. But once you figure it out, once you stick to those rules, I mean, it's just the discipline of driving that home every day you sit in front of that computer. And we get reminders every now and then. I have a rule that says this. I broke the rule and lost money. Okay, that's why I put that rule in place. And you don't have to break it too often before you go, okay, that's a solidified rule. I'm just not going to break it. Yeah. Like you asked me before about chasing. Every time I chase, I lose money. So at some point, guess what? Well, I'm just not going to chase anymore.
Right.
A long process to get those rules, but once you get it down, just stick with them, dial it in periodically, look at it, adjust what you need to, but you've got to know what kind of trader you are. And once you know it, design your trades that fit that personality.
Well, you heard it here, and you heard the music cued. Well, you didn't now live, but you will when this is edited. And Mike, I appreciate you joining us. This is 3 hours of wisdom, and I really appreciate your time being the first guest on this podcast. You got any final parting words for the people, or what do you think?
My final parting wisdom would be, we all struggle in the stock market. So if you guys are going through a period where you just don't feel like you've got it figured out, either take a step back and take a day or a week off, size down. So if you're losing money or inconsistent, you're not losing large amounts of money, but we've all blown up accounts. We've all been through periods where we couldn't figure out a trade. We've all had a week long or 2 weeks long of a slump where everything we touch just goes the wrong way. You're not alone. It happens to every single one of us. We all have losses. Don't ever look at someone posting gains online and say, man, this person has it all. They've never taken a loss. We all have losses. So if you're going through that period, or if you feel like you just don't get it, if it's something you really want, don't give up. Reach out to people that you know have done it before you. Reach out to people that you know are super helpful. Watch whatever you can on YouTube and try to figure out what's good and bad from that. Stick with it. Bury your head in the books, whatever you have to do. Because again, we've said it a few times tonight, if you really understand how to do this, you've got a skill that's not going to go away. The stock market doesn't close. If you don't want to trade for the next 3 years, that's fine. And then you want to buy a new truck. So you want to trade for a year so you can buy that truck in cash. It's a skill that you can take with you forever. So if you're struggling and you feel like you just don't get it, don't give up.
You heard it there. It's true. Black Box Stocks. He is 7StarMike. I am the Great River. You're going to be hearing a lot more of me. I really appreciate you guys coming tonight. And we will see you guys around. Mike, I will see you in the chat room probably tomorrow. You guys should join us there. And people are saying, somebody said this is like Hot Ones for Black Box Stocks. that YouTube show where the guy, Sean Evans, has people eat hot wings and talk about stuff.
Yeah.
That may not be the branding we're going for, but that's okay. All right, Mike, thanks for your time, man. Enjoy San Diego. Go up to La Jolla and visit my old house later on. And yeah, right. I did not live in La Jolla. That was not San Diego. Go down to Pacific and tell them I said hi. So thanks for joining me. And I'll definitely let you know when this is up. And man, I appreciate your time for sure.
Hey, I had a great time chatting. Thanks for inviting me on. I appreciate being the first guest of your new endeavor. And definitely good luck in the future with this. I'm going to be listening to all of them.
Well, I'm excited, man. And yeah, pretty soon we'll have the second guest announced. And yeah, thank you so much, Mike. And I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody.
You got it.
And how'd you like that? That's it. That is our premiere event. 2-part discussion with 7StarMike. I want to thank him for being my first guest. So listen up, Black Box Stocks members and everyone else. There's a long list of Black Box Stocks moderators and key individuals that are going to be on this podcast. Follow me on Twitter at GreatRVR. And of course, you can subscribe to this very channel. Do it. Turn on the notifications. You won't miss a thing. I am River. Thank you for listening. See you soon for episode 3.